Good morning, friends. Welcome back to Astro Insights. I am your host, Mel Rose. I am in the car this morning in Kansas City, Missouri, with my beautiful wife, Jennifer Rose, who's very carefully getting us to the psychic fair. Hello. We are not vending at the psychic fair today. In fact, we've never been to a psychic fair before. So when a friend of ours invited us, we decided, yes, we want to go. So we're going to go up to the psychic fair, and that starts around 11, and this starts at 10. So we are just going to let these things interlink and overlap with one another today. Uh, Thank you for being here. Thank you for checking in on your regular current astrology. As you know, as above, so below. So we look to the sky, to the way the planets move across the backdrop of the stars to give us some inkling as to what kind of energies might be playing out above us and around us, because that has an impact on what we experience here on the planet. So having that information helps me navigate my own life with more success and prosperity and optimism and love and grace. And hopefully it does that for you too. Thank you so much for being here. And let's get right into the astrology for the week. So today is Sunday, October 26th. And I want to say that this past week, Neptune moved back into Pisces. Neptune and Saturn have been flirting with this conjunction that's coming up in February, and they've been clicking back and forth across that line between Pisces and Aries, which is right at the end and the beginning of the zodiac. So now they're both back on the Pisces side, and eventually they're both going to turn back around and go into Aries, and they're going to conjunct at 0 degrees Aries. It's like 0 degrees and 50 or something Aries on February 20th. So that's all happening between now and then. So Neptune and Saturn right there together, very nearly conjunct at the end of Pisces, where they were last year, and getting ready to move on. Also, this past week, the sun moved into Scorpio. So here we are in Scorpio season. Happy birthday, Scorpios. This is the time where in our outer lives, in our work, social, and civic lives, our attention really turns to our own authenticity. It turns to doing a little bit of a deep dive. It turns to clearing out some of the old debris from old stuff that we're no longer having to worry about or heal from. It asks us to turn over the soil of our psyche and our connection to ourselves and others, and just make sure that we're doing our best and being very true to ourselves and being very true to the people that we hold close. Okay. Yesterday, Mercury made a trine to Jupiter, and then it made a trine to Saturn and Neptune at the end of Pisces. And what I want to say about this is that this whole week, we have shifted from that grand trine in air signs last week into the grand trine in water signs. And we will be perfecting that grand trine in water signs in different ways, depending on the 5 or 6 different planets that are involved in that grand trine. So that's this whole week. This week we can expect to find things easy to plan, easy to take action, to get things done. It's going to be exceptionally positive. With the grand trine being in water signs, it's about how it feels to you. Does it feel good? Does it feel positive? Does it feel like progress, personal progress in your relationships, and progress in your life? So especially with the sun being in Scorpio, that's really going to be important, because the progress is about being true to yourself, being authentic, and really having, a strategy for life that will see you through, especially the coming months through the winter. So this week, exceptionally creative, exceptionally capable, and exceptionally practical is what we're going to find for ourselves. I'm really hoping, most of us. Monday, tomorrow, is the 27th. And tomorrow, Mars makes an adjustment energy to Chiron. Now, Chiron has been in Aries, and it has been lately in a close conjunction with Eris, which is more of a chaos factor. So Chiron is that wounded healer, that teacher, that part of us that really wants to solve problems. And then Eris is a little more of a chaotic, angry vibration. So it's almost like we're really frustrated about some problems that we've been wanting to heal from. And that can bring some intensity to the feeling of the changes that we're going through. So with Mars making that adjustment energy, it's almost like the actions that we're taking are, like in a desire to be aligned with that energy, so that we can let go of the frustration and have the problem solving, let go of the frustration and have the healing. And so the action I want you to be taking early this week, because it's really going to help working through this grand trine, manifesting through this grand trine. It's very positive energy. What it's going to help us do is to see where we have healed and allow us to get rid of some of the debris from the old defenses, right? So Mercury making Mars making that adjustment to Chiron and Eris. I want you to make a mental note, make a physical note, have a conversation about, or do something to remind yourself about the recent signs of healing you have seen in yourself. So if you were able to go back to a place and not feel the same way that you used to feel about it, or have a conversation with somebody that you thought you might never be able to speak with again, or if you have been able just to act on anything or consider doing anything that in the past you would have been afraid to do, then notice that is a sign of your healing, and notice that, because of that, there are things that you can change about the way you go about life, putting up your guard and defending yourself. Of course, we all have to have boundaries. We all have to have a guard up about certain things, certain people, certain situations. Definitely, we all have to protect ourselves. But, sometimes we have protections up that have been there so long we don't realize that they're still up. They're not necessary for us, and they might actually be keeping us from making connections that we need. So that's what we're working on, part of what we're working on this week. Also on Monday, tomorrow, Mars is going to perfect its trine to Jupiter in that grand trine in water signs. So again, really be going with what feels good. And since Jupiter is involved, do what feels like growth. Do what feels like positive expansion for you. It's easy to get a lot done this week, okay? Remember, strategy, readiness. Mars is in Scorpio, I believe. And so we want strategy, we want readiness, we want to be prepared before we take our actions. And we also want to remember to get some rest, because again, this is a week when there's a lot that can be done. There's a large sense of possibility, a large sense of growth, but it's also easy to overdo it. It's possible to overdo it, okay? Mars being so much in the action just says that there is a lot of activity on our plates for this week. So remember to rest. Remember to make sure you get your hours of sleep, right? Get to bed on time, so you know how much rest you're going to have before you get going the next day. And then on Tuesday, the moon moves on into Aquarius. So when the moon was in Capricorn for the first part of this week, today and tomorrow, that's a very physical, do work, sweat of the brow kind of vibration, getting structural things done, taking care of business. And then on Tuesday, the moon moves on into Aquarius. And Saturn and Capricorn and Aquarius both ruled by Saturn, so it's still practical, but it's a little more of a community practical vibration. Like, we've taken care of the things that we can take care of for ourselves on our own. And now we're going to go out into the community, get together with our cohorts, our friends, our civic leaders, all of that, and take action on a collective level, so that we're all working together to make these greater things happen, to have these problems solved. Because some of the sicknesses that we're struggling with, some of the maladies that we're struggling with are not just based on what we do on our own, but really like what's happening to us all collectively. So we really want to be paying attention not only to like how well things are going for me, but how well everything is going for us collectively, and working to get problems solved for ourselves that are also going to solve problems for others. So that's where it comes around to on Tuesday. Now, Wednesday, that grand trine is going to get activated a lot more. First thing in the morning, Mercury perfects its trine to Neptune, so we're exceptionally creative that day. Then Mercury moves on into Sagittarius. So our way of planning switches from Scorpio, which is very strategic, very, very quiet, very sort of almost undercover, like we're going to make our plans and then let everybody see what we're doing. And then, Mercury going into Sagittarius is like, yes, now we're going to let everybody see what we're doing. It's more active, it's more outgoing, it's a little more bluntly spoken. We just want to be honest. We would want to say the words that get the message across, okay? And go with that, because again, we have that grand trine in water signs, and we have this sense of growth and possibility in our hearts. We're feeling the love for the people we're connected to, for the communities we're connected to. So it's a great time to just, say bluntly what it is that's needed in the moment, and cooperate with others to get things done. The third thing that happens on Wednesday is that Mars perfects its trine to Saturn. So we're also exceptionally capable, especially when it comes to taking actions that build foundations for us or that reinforce good boundaries for us. And then the last thing that happens on Wednesday, late at night here in the Americas, is opposite Uranus. And honestly, to me, that feels like a little bit of chaotic information coming out in the news, perhaps. It's late at night here, so I would say don't let the news mess with your head late at night. Put away the socials and try to get some sleep. Make sure you attend to your rest and get on to the next day, right? The news will still be there in the morning. Okay, so Wednesday also is that half moon in Aquarius. That means we're halfway from the new moon that we just had in Libra, and halfway to that full moon in Taurus that's coming up next week. That will be next Wednesday. So we're in a phase of culmination here. It feels like growth. It feels like growing. So go with what feels like growth. Go with what feels like positive growth. Growth in the right direction, right? Sagittarius, up and down. So that's Wednesday. Wednesday is a big day. And then on Thursday, Mercury perfects also a sextile to Pluto. So this is a little bit different. Mercury is in that grand trine in water sign, so it does impact that grand trine, but it's making this sort of side conversation with Pluto. And really, the vibration I get from that is like we're accepting the inevitable turnover, the inevitable changes that are coming along. We see what's coming down the pike, and we can go, either I'm afraid of that, or it just seems big, or it seems like a big change, or I can see how this is going to totally change things. We're accepting the fact that things have changed can speed things along for us. Okay, that's that sextile energy. Okay, let's cooperate with the change as it comes down, and that can help us sort of get over the hump. Sort of take a big swallow and gulp and move forward. Okay. Also, so that's what happens on Thursday. On Thursday, the 30th, is Mercury sextile Pluto, and really, we just want to try to be open and accepting to the changes that are coming along. And if you find yourself in resistance, it helps, I think, just to back up and practice your deep breathing or whatever it is you practice to sort of get yourself to a calmer state of emotional being. We want to be in a calm state of emotional being when we're making our decisions, especially on Thursday. Then on Friday is Halloween. It's Samhain. It is the day that the moon moves on into Pisces. This is all pretty appropriate. So where the moon's moving into one of those water signs, it's going to activate that grand trine, and we have that happening on the day where traditionally we think of it as the veil has thinned, but really we are halfway into autumn now, friends. This is the midpoint between the fall equinox and the winter solstice. So we are almost there, believe it or not. Yes, just charging right along into the end of the year. So that's Samhain. It's the thinning of the veils. It is a time when we, in traditional ways, sort of celebrate our ancestors, celebrate the fact that things die. Like we're in the middle of the harvest. Samhain is the last harvest. So we really, we accept that things die, and they do so to nourish us, and we give thanks for the final harvest, and we also give thanks for our ancestors and how what they've given us has helped us sustain ourselves through our lives and will sustain us through the coming winter. Then coming up on Saturday is November 1st. Saturday, November 1st, we have Venus in opposition to Chiron. Remember, I talked to you about Chiron being closely conjunct to Eris in Aries. So it's very frustrated and motivated desire to solve some problems, to find some healing. And with Venus being in opposition there on Saturday, it's almost like we might be pulling in a little more of our old chaos, right? We might be tempted to resort to old coping mechanisms that really don't work for us. And we might be tempted by some reckless sense of desire, because that's a square. Venus is squaring Jupiter. No, Venus. I'm sorry, that's an opposite. Venus is opposing Chiron, so we're pulling in more chaos. We want to go back. Remember, I told you at the beginning of the week to make a note somehow or a reminder of the healing that you've experienced recently, the things that you've been able to do that you would not have been able to do before. This is the time, Saturday, when you start feeling tempted, or when you start feeling like you're pulling in some more chaos, or like things are going back to the crazy way they used to be. Go back and reflect on that recent healing that you've had, and give yourself the reassurance that you need to know that these problems are getting solved and you are moving forward. But healing happens at its own pace, right? So we don't feel it all at once, and we don't know it's all done at once. And then on Sunday, Venus makes that square to Jupiter, and that's a little bit of reckless desire. It's a little bit of over asking. It's a little bit of wanting more than we probably should take, right? Being tempted to receive more than we need to get. And also Venus is in Libra, so she's seeking balance. So I think that she's going to try to be really fair. But we want to be careful, especially about overindulging on Sunday the 2nd. Also, on Sunday the 2nd, I want to remind you that a week from then is when Mercury retrograde starts again. So this Sunday the 2nd, remember that we are in Mercury's retrograde shadow, and we're going to be going Mercury retrograde next week. Also next week, we'll have that full moon in Taurus, and Venus will move on into Scorpio, and Uranus is going to back up into Taurus, and all of our retrograde action will be at its climax for a little while before we start moving back forward to the really new vibration and energy that we're going to notice next year, starting in February and moving throughout the year, as we shift out of these water and earth vibes, which we have just shifted back into this time of year, out of these water and earth vibes, back into those fire and air vibes that we were feeling back in the summertime this year. So that sense of progress, that sense of growth, that sense of possibility, it is all here. Don't forget what you learned. Don't forget how you healed. Don't forget what you realized about what you want going forward, because it's still out there. It's still waiting for you to come and get it. Okay. We're having a little bit of time of reflection, a little bit of time of taking care of business as it is right now. And then next year, we're going to get to push forward into that new iteration of our lives, whatever that means for you, whatever that means for you. Okay, so friends, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for being here for Astro Insights. Again, I am your host, Mel Rose, and that is Jennifer was just reminding me that I needed tarot cards, and she brought some for me just in case I had forgotten them. That was the week, the astrology for the week ahead. Thanks again for checking in on it. I can't believe I'm just 20 minutes into this. I feel like I've been talking to you guys for an hour. Okay, so the second part of this video is devoted to tarot. We're going to do a 2-card tarot reading for the coming week. And I want to do a card for Mercury and a card for Mars. Okay, Mercury is how we plan, how we communicate, how we collaborate with others. And so I want to pull a card for, like, what is our best approach to communication planning this week? And that card is coming out reverse. 7 of Cups in reverse. Okay, so I think that for one thing, it's going to be very important for us to get clear with ourselves on the inside about what it is that we are wanting to get out of our collaborations. Okay, because that the 7 of Cups in reverse really gives me like an inside fog kind of vibration, but really that puts this cup down here at the bottom where it would normally be at the top. So it's really about what lights up your soul, what lights up your spirit. Really get in touch with that. With this grand trine in water signs, it should be pretty easy to feel where that flow feels very positive, and what feels like a heck yeah to you. Okay, So, be clear on what your goals are. And then when we share our goals with others, when we start communicating collective goals, make sure we stick with those. Make sure we know what the collective goals are, and don't get the collective don't get your personal goals confused for the collective goals. There's the message. Okay. And then my other card's going to be for Mars, because it's an action-packed week, and there's a week. This is a week when a lot can happen. A lot of healing, a lot of progress, a lot of just moving forward. So let's ask, like, what is the best approach to taking action this week? That one's coming up. We have the 10 of Wands. Okay, so just don't get overloaded. All right, really, don't try to do too much. Don't overcommit. I would say if you already have plans for the coming week, don't make more. Okay, don't take on more responsibilities. See what you can delegate. Now that we're sitting stopped, I can show you this. See what you can delegate. All right. Because the thing is that when you take on too much, first of all, the burden is too heavy. You get tired out, you get exhausted too quickly, and you can't really see where you're going, right? The whole idea is to keep your eye on what the collective goal is, what your goals are, and what the collective goals are. And you can't keep your eye on that if you are overburdened with tasks to do. So don't take on more than you can actually do. Don't say yes to things that you should probably say no to. Or, if you don't know whether you can say yes or no, maybe it's something you really want to say yes to, but you already have plans, or you probably shouldn't add any more plans. Then the question has to become, like, can I say yes to this? Like, well, what is that going to be? Let's be really honest with ourselves about the time and the effort that it's going to take. Okay. All right, friends, I think that is all I have for you today. That is the week ahead in astrology and the reading for the week. Remember, with your collaborations, to be clear on your own goals and what the collective goals, the stated collective goals are. Let's stick to the plan, man. Okay. And then also, it's a Mars heavy week. It's an action heavy week. So, remember to get your rest. Remember not to take on too much. Remember to go to bed on time and get up. Give yourself a reasonable amount of sleep. Give yourself a break if you start to feel overwhelmed, okay? All right, friends. And then next week, we will talk about that full moon in Taurus and a couple of other things. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you for being here. And catch us Thursday evenings for the Tarot Showdown Live, where we do yes or no tarot, or catch us next Sunday morning for another show just like this, where we preview the week ahead in astrology. Okay, friends, I'm out of here. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your week.